Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Raider D podcast, live in the truck. No, I am not driving. This is just a nice quiet place because the studio is being utilized right now by wifey. And so here we go, man. Back in the truck for our daily live session. As we start filing in here, we'll get going. But if you are watching this later after the live stream, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the like button, as we are about 60 subscribers away from 12,000 subscribers. It has been a long haul to get to those 12,000 subscribers, but at the end of the day, the channel itself is now approaching 4 million views in the past year and a half. That is insane. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that has been supporting the Raider D podcast from the very beginning. And if you are brand new, hit the subscribe button because, hey, we talk about the Raiders every single day here, whether it is breaking news, rumors, etc. We got your back. So I want to talk a little bit about today as we get going. I want to talk about the coaching staff. I want to talk about the AFC West, and I want to talk about the Raiders' potential, even this year, of maybe winning the AFC West. So it's going to be an interesting conversation today. Open mic as always, guys. Get your comments in there below, and I'll respond to as many as I possibly can. I already see my boy Tony up in here. Raiders C-Dub up in here. Raiders C-Dub says, Big Raider D. Raider D is the place to be. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. How are you guys doing, by the way? And as always, make sure that you comment down below where you are viewing from. I always love to see how diverse and widespread the Raider Nation is. It is absolutely awesome. James in the house. We Out of Here Entertainment in the house. What it do, Raider Nation? What's up, guys? Man, I'm excited for the season. Listen, I understand that it is the off season right now. Right now we have the rookies in the training camp. So they're doing their mini rookie training camp right now. And from all reports that are coming out that I have seen and heard, is that the rookie mini training camp is more exciting this year, with the amount of players that are looking extraordinarily impressive than last year. Last year, obviously, Brock Bowers stole the show, and maybe that was a part of it because you got Brock in there just, people's heads are turning 360 trying to keep up with this dude. So he kind of overshadowed the rest of the rookies last year. But this year, even though Ashton Genty, number 6 overall draft pick, is out there turning a lot of heads, there's been a lot of attention on Jack Besh. There's been a lot of attention on Dante Thornton Jr. There's been a lot of attention on Cam Miller. Even Tonka Hemingway. So I think it's pretty cool right now that we have so many rookies that are impressing the coaches and their teammates. So that spells well for the Raiders moving forward. We Out of Here Entertainment coming from Sacktown, California. Man, I love Sacktown. I used to live there. I was there for a couple years, originally from the Bay Area. Now, obviously, I don't live in Cali anymore. Taxes too high, crime too high, and the Raiders left. So it is what it is. I still love Cali. I love going home and checking it out. But for me now, it's just a visit rather than a live. I enjoy being away from the city life. I grew up in the city my whole life, and it's nice to be out in the country and have tons of freedom. Like, I don't have any neighbors. It's crazy. Like, I have neighbors, but they're miles away. I mean, look at where we're at here, man. I got a neighbor over there, and I would say that's probably 5 miles away. My next closest neighbor is about 10 miles away. And that's it. Like, just for me to drive to town is a 45-minute drive. So I absolutely love it. It's so much more peaceful for me out here and better for my health. I think everybody should give it a shot if you haven't done so already. At least a vacation anywhere out in the middle of nowhere. It's good to get away. Michael Avila in here. What is going on? Raiders C-Dub says, I heard Jack Besh is having a hard time with transition into the NFL. Is that all smoke? I have not heard that at all. I've heard the exact opposite. I've heard that Jack Besh has turned some heads, that he is impressing with his physicality, his catching and everything else. So I don't know who's spreading that rumor around that Jack Besh is not coping well in the NFL. First of all, he's only been in the NFL for like a couple of weeks. So that it'd be way too early to make an assessment like that, especially to just throw out some rumor like that. But, you know, as far as I've heard, Jack Besh is looking good in the Raiders rookie mini training camp. So I have high hopes for the kid. I think he's going to do really well in the NFL. He's a very physical guy, very physical receiver, gets down and dirty, reminds us a lot of Jacoby Myers, but he's probably even more physical than Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers gets out there and he lays some nasty blocks on guys, and he's just fearless. Now you take that same attitude with Jack Besh, who's a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger, and you have a recipe for success there. So I'm all for it. I like it. And we'll see how the kid does. Listen, he's a rookie. Same thing with all these guys. They're all rookies. I think the only guy out of this class, just like pretty much any class, you usually have one or two guys that's really going to shine. Last year we had Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers shined last year. And we all knew that he would because he was the best tight end coming out of college in probably 2 decades. So now we have Ashton Genty, who is the best running back coming out of college in a couple of decades. So I think that in the short term, this year I expect Ashton Genty to make a splash. And then in the long term, I think you're going to see Jack Besh in a couple of years really become a premier possession receiver. I think Dante Thornton Jr., the 6'4", 4.30, or 4.340. Sorry, I think he could be a star in the NFL. He has all the physical traits. He needs some coaching and he needs some technique to be honed upon, and I think that the Raiders staff is going to be able to do that with him. So, yeah, I'm excited about this rookie class. Sorry, man. I just got done working out, and so now I'm tired. But I think moving forward with the pieces that we have right now, I'm feeling like the Raiders have a real shot in the AFC West this year. And I'm going to explain why that is and why I feel that way. Number one, coach, Pete Carroll. Enough said. Super Bowl champ. College national champ. We have Chip Kelly, college national champ. The innovator of that Oregon Duck offense. Mastermind. We've retained Patrick Graham, who is a steady hand at defensive coordinator. I'm not going to sit here and say that Patrick Graham's a mastermind or the best defensive coordinator in the world, but he's a steady hand. And he is a good defensive coordinator. So I think that the coaching staff alone is a huge upgrade to what we've had over the past several years. Josh McDaniels is a mastermind offensive coordinator. No doubt about it. But he's a terrible head coach. Terrible in Denver, destroyed them, and he was terrible in Vegas and destroyed us. And I think that, now when you look at the coaching staff that we have an all-star team. And for me, it's basically we have no other choice than to win games with this cast of characters that we have in the coaching staff. Tall Jawa says, Sup Nation, Raider D good. Nada says, way better than Paul Gunther. That's true. Paul Gunther, listen, Paul Gunther only had his job because of his friendship with John Gruden. That was very well known. He was terrible, though. Absolutely terrible. He should have been he should have been fired by John Gruden after year one. But John Gruden stuck with him for too long, and that kind of held us back right there. Now, I think that after the coaching staff, we do have a quarterback now who can put up big numbers, and he can escape the pocket. He can extend plays. But I will say this, Geno Smith does get sacked a lot. He does get sacked a lot, and that's a big concern. Sacks kill drives, right? You got to throw it away. You got to get away. You got to get off of that sack. Don't let that happen. He's had a couple of years where he's had over 40 sacks in a season, and that cannot happen with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, last year, he had the 31st ranked offensive line, which was actually worse than the Raiders. So that was a big part of why he got sacked a lot. Plus, they didn't have a good run game. But I think right now that just the fact that we have Geno Smith, I do believe 100% he is an upgrade to every quarterback that we have on the roster, including Aiden O'Connell. Simply because, not that I don't believe in Aiden O'Connell, I do. I think Aiden O'Connell has what it takes to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't know if he'll be great, but I think he could be a game manager. And with game managers have won Super Bowls, so that is a real possibility for him. However, he still has a hard time escaping the pocket, extending plays, and he does sometimes panic and collapse into himself when he gets pressured, where Geno Smith really doesn't. Geno Smith will step right into the face of a sack and throw the ball on target, which is crazy, and he'll take a big hit from it. So I do believe that Geno Smith is a big upgrade for the Las Vegas Raiders, and for that, in combination with the coaching staff and what we're going to be able to do, I'm pretty impressed with our and pretty hopeful with our options to go into the AFC West and really have a strong season. Now, I don't know if we'll dominate the AFC West, because the AFC West is now probably the strongest division in all of the NFL. If you think about it, you got Jim Harbaugh. You have having a brain fart. You have KC's head coach. Now I'm Andy Reid. You have what's his name in Denver, right? Super Bowl champ. So then you have us. You have the Raiders with another Super Bowl champion head coach and Pete Carroll. So it's a tough division. Now, I don't know if that will dominate, but I do believe that the Raiders have a really good shot at competing in the AFC West, which is something that we have not really had for a couple of years, for a few years, actually. And so I'm looking at this roster, and we'll see how the preseason goes. But I'm looking at this roster, and I'm looking at the division, and I'm thinking to myself, the Raiders can take Denver. That should not be... What happened last year shouldn't happen. So this year, I don't think that happens. I think the Raiders take Denver. And I think the Raiders finally get a victory in SoFi. And KC, we have a shot. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Kansas City. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They still have Andy Reid. They still have Travis Kelce. But, and this is the big but here, is that Travis Kelce is at the end of his career. He has lost a step. He is not a dominant tight end anymore. And they don't have a dominant tight end to replace him. And that's kind of been the main thing for Patrick Mahomes, that safety blanket, having his daddy out there, Travis Kelce, to save him. And if he can't do it, I don't know that Patrick Mahomes has the weapons on that team to be dominant. The other thing that we've seen is, the NFL got exposed for their favoritism towards the Chiefs to get them in the Super Bowl. It is a business, and having the Chiefs in the Super Bowl with the possibility of a three-peat, going up against the Eagles, who they defeated before, it draws eyeballs, and eyeballs equals money. And so it was not even a secret that the NFL was going to make sure that the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl. But they failed to win. And you've seen a stark contrast in the Super Bowl where the refs weren't helping KC anymore. They actually called a fair game. And the Chiefs got exposed and they got manhandled. So I don't think the Chiefs are as good as everybody tries to say they are. They were good. I'll give them their credit. They were good a couple years ago. But I don't think they're that good anymore. And now that they got so manhandled by the Eagles in the Super Bowl, I don't think the NFL is going to try and play that favoritism for them to get them back to the Super Bowl. Now, there's no impetus to get KC back into a Super Bowl because there's no three-peat now for them. So I don't think that they're gonna get the favoritism. We'll see what happens, but I think they got exposed last year, and I think it's pretty much done. And M85 in here says, credit to Philly, they won that game fair and square. Man, they won that game. They manhandled that game. They destroyed KC, man. Patrick Mahomes was running for his life the entire game. And then they just the Eagles just played a really good game. They played good ball. And so, yeah, hats off to Philly. Philly took our recipe, and that's how they defeated KC, because they looked at the Christmas game from 2 years ago and how the Raiders beat them, and they said, this is what we're going to do in the Super Bowl. And that's exactly what they did, and it worked. And KC got completely exposed. So, for me, I'm not as worried about KC as I was in years past. This year, I think the Raiders can at least go 50-50 with them. Hopefully, we can even dominate them. Hopefully, KC's reign of ridiculous referee wins is now over, and the Raiders can get back into this competition. So, the only one that I'm gonna say that I'm actually worried about in the division is actually LA, the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh is a fantastic head coach. Jim Harbaugh has that team playing really good and really hard last year. And I think that it is now going to become more of a competition between the Chargers and the Raiders for the next couple of years. I think KC is going to whittle out and die out. And I think Denver has some possibility. They could get a spark. They did make the playoffs last year. But I think that moving forward, I just don't see that they have enough skill players to continue that. I think last year was a bit of a fluke for them, and we'll see what happens. So, yeah. Tal Jawa says, Bolts and Broncos this year, we need those wins. Yep, I agree. We've got to get them. And to me, I think more importantly, we've got to get KC. We have to knock KC down, because KC needs to become what the Raiders have been for the past 20 years, right? The bottom of the barrel of the division. And that in and of itself then gives the Raiders the ability to compete to win the division. Now, I'm not saying that the Raiders are going to win the division this year, but it's possible. Anything is possible. If you look at what Washington did in one draft, one free agency year, turned a horrible team around into a very good team. What Houston was able to do after one draft and one free agency year, new head coach, new culture, very good football team. The Raiders can absolutely do that, and who better to do it than Pete Carroll? Because Pete Carroll is known for one thing out of all the other things he's known for. One thing for sure is culture building. Getting the guys on the team to play their hearts out. That's what Pete Carroll has been so good at his entire career. M85 says, I'm not ready to completely dismiss KC, but I do agree we can split the series if anything. Yeah, you never want to dismiss any football team in the NFL, right? You don't even want to dismiss a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Tennessee Titans, Carolina Panthers. You just don't dismiss any team because they may be the worst team in their division. They may be the worst team in the NFL, but very few teams in history have ever gone 0-16 or now 0-17, right? So any given Sunday, a team can absolutely take off. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this. If you guys will help me out with this, drop some comments. The NFL is expanding every year these international games. I think we have like 5 or 6 now this year. I hope to God the Raiders are not on that list. That would just be so annoying. But eventually the Raiders are going to have to do these international games as well, and that really sucks, man. I don't like it. I'm opposed to it 100%. Especially like we're trying to do football games, NFL football games in Brazil. Brazilians don't give a crap about the NFL. They're all soccer fans. So I don't understand what the NFL is doing with this. I think you're alienating your main base. The main base of the NFL is what makes the NFL tens of billions of dollars every year. And I just don't understand it. So I don't know. You guys drop your opinion. Do you like the international games? Do you think the NFL should have more international games? Or should we have less? Because I am opposed to it. Michael Avila says, we need more players on roster if we do international games. You know what? I was thinking about this the other day. I'm glad you brought that point up, Mike, is that the season is now 17 regular games, and yet we still have a 53-man roster. We've had the same 53-man roster back when it was, 14 games? 14 regular games, and then they went to 16 and then 17. Still 53-man roster. So you go through all of these injuries, and you still are limited to 53 men. This was one of the reasons what killed the Raiders last year. We had a ton of injuries, and we had no quality players to replace a lot of those guys with. I mean, the guys who came in and played their hearts out, and they did a good job, especially Clavion Chason. Surprised the Raiders didn't keep him on board. But I just don't get it. One thing I do understand is, listen, if you were to expand this, and this comes down to the owners just being cheapskates, right? If you expand the active roster to say, let's say 60 players, that's 7 more minimum of $950,000 that you have to pay. So that's nearly $7 million. Now, most of those guys, that's for a first-year player. Bare minimum payment is $950,000 in the NFL for a rookie. Most of those 7 players aren't going to be rookies. They're going to be veterans. They're going to be 2 years in, 3 years in, 5 years in, 10 years in. And so you could be spending as much as $1.9 million bare minimum for that guy to be on your team. And so this could easily cost a team and an owner an additional, $10, $15 million to have those guys on the roster. And that's why they're not doing it. In my opinion, it all comes down to money and these billionaires pinching pennies and just not wanting to cough up that extra money and just hoping and praying that their team doesn't suffer a bunch of injuries and lose guys. But, for the fans, nobody wants to see their team decimated with injuries and have no high-quality backups. because that just ruins the game. Then you don't want to pay for tickets. You don't want to go to the game. You're not going to the game. You're not going to the concession stands. It's all just, how much money does a team lose if they have a losing season because they don't have the competent players to replace guys who go down? So I think that, if you're going to continue, and now they're talking about even expanding it to 18 games in a season, regular season games, which as fans, we would love. That's more football for us. But I know I've talked to the players and they're not feeling that, because these guys are risking every time they play a game, they are risking a major career-ending injury. And so, and it doesn't mean that you're going to make more money. Let's look at it like this. So, let's just look at Max Crosby and his contract, right? We extended him. He's getting paid a bunch of money. So it's not like he has anything to worry about. But let's say they expand it one more game. Now it's 18 games. So do you get paid extra for that 18 games if you just signed a long-term extension? Let's say a guy signed a 3-year extension and the NFL goes to 18 games next year. Does he get paid extra for that game? No. He gets paid the exact same, but he has to do more work. The boss just said, yeah, we're going to pay you this much money, but now you have to do more work. Now, Max Crosby is a bad example because he's, making over $100 million. He's going to be super rich. He's set for life. But what about the guys who are only making $950,000 in a season? Well, they still get $950,000, but now it's 18 games. So I don't think that's fair to the players. M85 says, make practice squad part of active roster, season expands. Well, and that's one of the things, so the NFL owners love the practice squads, because on a practice squad, you're not paying that $950,000 bare minimum for the active roster players. It's a fraction of that. These practice squad guys are making like $150,000, $200,000. Which still is good money to play football. You're making a couple $100,000 after taxes and agent fees and everything. They're not making that much. They're making probably 2/3 of that, but still it's decent money. But you're not going to be rich. And so that's why they like the practice squad, because they can keep these guys kind of on the team but not on the team. Now if you're going to leave them on the practice squad and they're good, any other team can poach them at any time during the season. And so that's kind of risky, and that's why I think I agree with you that they need to get rid of the practice squad and make the practice squad the active squad. But again, once you do that, you're now having to pay the bare minimum of $950,000 per player. And I think there's 16 players on the practice squad, something like that. 16 or 20, somewhere around that with the practice squad. So that's a negative incentive to the owners to do something like that. Matt says, for 18-game schedule, the owners are proposing 2 preseason games and 2 bye weeks. Yeah. And I think that, I don't know how would you do 2 bye weeks though? Because that's really going to extend the season now. Because basically you're going to a 20-week season. If you have 2 bye weeks and 18 games, plus 2 preseason games, that's 22 weeks of football. For us, we're all for it. We love it. Let's do it. 100%. I wish there was football year round. I wish there was football being played right now. I'm like itching to watch some football. But that's just not how it actually is going to pan out, because you would end up with guys having very short careers if you did year-round football. And so that would suck for them. So I like the fact that they're throwing in an extra bye week in order to coax the players' union into going along with this. But I worry that you're giving quantity, but you're taking away quality. If you think back to the 15, 20 years ago, like, when a lot of us started watching football as kids, I think the season was 14 weeks, right? The quality of football that you watched back then, the hard hitting, the hard nose, the gritty games, it was just far superior to anything that you're getting today. And I worry that the NFL is going down the NBA model where they're watering down the game with more quantity and getting rid of the quality of the game. That's why I don't even watch the NBA anymore. I gave up a few years ago watching the NBA. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I'm a Golden State Warriors fan, and I love the Warriors. And, it was a lot of fun watching them win some championships and stuff. But when I was growing up, it was the Pistons and the Bulls and the Lakers and, just amazing basketball. And now you watch a game and it's kind of like watching somebody play a video game, NBA 2K or something. It's kind of ridiculous and it's lost its oomph for me, so I don't like it anymore. And I worry that the NFL might be going down that model because it made the NBA a lot of money. And so the NFL's looking at that and saying, well, we can make X amount of more billions of dollars. And I don't like that. You're seeing a lot of these teams being bought by basically hedge fund type dudes. They don't care about the game. For them, it's dollars and cents. And I think that that's a big mistake that if the Raiders and the NFL go down that model over the next few years of replacing the quality for quantity and more money, it's going to water down the game, and then we're going to have some bigger issues. Long term, I think you'll lose a lot of fans. Tall Jawa says it was a different game back then, 100%. I mean, sports back then, and I said it the second that, the Supreme Court ruled that international gambling over the internet is not a big deal and you can go ahead and do it. I knew the second that happened, that they legalized gambling on our smartphones, that things were going to go bad. And here's why. Because once the game becomes about fantasy football and gambling tickets, you end up with a new generation of fans who are not diehard fans to their team. They're gambleholics, right? They're basically only watching a game, and they're probably watching several games because they're trying to keep track of their fantasy football and their tickets and stuff. That waters down the game. And then you also leave a ton of possibility of cheating when it comes to referees and stuff. Like I said, yeah, it's not allowed for a referee to go on one of these online gambling places. But who's to say their cousin John doesn't put $10,000 on a game that their cousin is reffing, and they go for one guy on the spread, and then sure enough, the referee calls a touchdown back because it would have hurt the spread, and calls some pity-patty little foul that calls back a touchdown. Or an offsides on a field goal. We've seen that with Jack Jones last year. Was it last year or the year before? So those types of things are a big concern, and I'm just worried about it. I know that's a little bit off topic of what we were talking about today, but the monetization of the game over the love for the game is a big concern for me. But I mean, I'm still going to love my Raiders no matter what. I'm always going to support the Raiders, and I'm always going to watch the Raiders and cheer them on, and then come online and talk to you guys about it, because for me, the Raiders it's a part of my life. It's a part of my culture. It's a part of who I am as a person. The pursuit of excellence and greatness that Al Davis basically embedded into the Raider organization. That legacy that he tried to leave with them, that I think Tom Brady is now going to try and re-spark that motto in the Raiders is something that I will always hold dear to my heart. But listen, guys, I got a lot of stuff I got to do, so I got to run. I know you guys are probably all working and busy and stuff, so thank you so much for jumping in and joining me today. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. We are 60 people away from 12,000 subscribers, and I got a prize giveaway that I'll be doing as soon as we hit that 12,000 mark. So, man, I appreciate all of you guys. I will see you in tomorrow's live stream, same time tomorrow, and I'll have another video posted out here in a little bit, so be tuned for that. Until next time, guys, I will see you in the next Raiders video. Let's go, Raiders! Just win, baby.